Hello.
That interview is worth listening to if you guys haven't listened to it. The Lex Friedman interview.
All right, Carlos, you came in right in time for us to transition to the most innovative company on planet Earth that took down Meet Kevin's stream. I guess he didn't watch Finance Junkies and realize that you're not supposed to stream Apple.
He got a strike too.
Meet Kevin probably gave them a couple more 100,000 views, and they were like, "Nope, fuck it, we don't want." Like, that's just insane by Apple. Absolutely insane.
I really wonder what the rationale is behind that. My only thinking is like maybe there's something that they're worried about. It could happen live, but they've got to be on a delay. Like, I can't imagine that they're not on at least a 7-second delay. What's going on to the feed?
I think they don't want any sort of criticism. Like, the one thing I saw, they were getting chewed out on Twitter all day long. Like, everyone was making fun of Apple. It was like, oh, I think the best comment was when your real innovation ends, your financial innovation begins. You know,
shit.
That's
Shit.
with,
ow, hitting him in the first.
Let's start with you, Chris. What were your high level thoughts? We'll go from you to Carlos to VITALY. Go ahead.
I mean, I watched it very quickly throughout like the last couple of hours just to see like if there were any material changes outside of that USB-C, which pretty much was forced on them. I don't think they would have done it if they hadn't been forced by the European Union.
100%.
That I don't think that they would have.
They just lost $20 million a month in cable sales.
Actually,
they'll sell you USB-C now. They'll sell you their Apple.
Apple certified USB-C.
Yeah, they'll call it something else now.
The only problem is like there's a ton of people that already make USB-C related, stuff. What do you call it? Non-proprietary connectors, because USB-C is non-proprietary. So they're gonna
but the Lightning is. This is what I was saying.
Right. Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. So at this point, I think Apple is, I don't know, man. They need to do some soul searching, get some new products out there that are really innovative outside of the video, the glasses, which I think are going to be a lot more niche than people think. The one thing that was intriguing while I was watching is, especially with the Pro version, they were highlighting ray tracing, and I was like, who uses their phone to like do gaming outside of maybe like the small bits of things here and there? So if you notice that, like, do I really need like ray tracing on a cell phone? But then maybe that's the whole shtick behind this, which is they want to use the phone as some sort of connectability to the what is that thing called, to the HMDs. And because of USB-C, you'll be allowed to do it, and then you'll be able to kind of play video games using your phone, like, I don't know, phone attached to your video glasses or something. I don't know. Yeah.
They brought back a button as well. It's called an action button. VITALY, what were your thoughts on the event?
Well, I didn't see the whole event. I saw parts of it. The one thing I do like, I started watching it in the beginning, but I was like, I'm just gonna wait for the 10-minute CNET supercut. Why am I wasting my time watching this? Makes sense. I do like the fact that they present themselves, and I keep thinking to companies that I like, obviously Enphase and Tesla, they don't present themselves that way. So Apple tries to sell you that their products are not only great, but they are for people. Do you know what I mean? That real people use them. So I know they were showing their watch helping save lives and everything, and it's actually, like, I'm watching and I'm like, that's not a bad way to grow. Everyone has an old person, everyone has a kid. Then I could see buying them a watch. Why not spend the $300-400? So it's a good way to get to people without just talking about the specs of the product. So I wish other companies took some advice from Apple and did some of that marketing too. And I keep thinking of Enphase because all they market to is the sun. Everything you see is about the sun, how great it is. And it's like, who are you marketing this to? Like, so I just wish some other companies we know, even Tesla, takes some advice from the way Apple does their marketing. It's kind of brilliant.
So someone said Apple, the next BlackBerry. No way. Not even close. Not even close. Yeah. There is no competitor out there that makes better phones than Apple. The problem is Apple is just not at the rate of growth that it was previously outside of their services division, which if they capture more market share of their phones, then they'll be able to grow their services business, which is also high margin revenue. So there is a bull case behind Apple. It's just not at the current valuations, only because their growth has slowed down to the point where it's literally a trickle now. So go ahead.
Well, let me ask you about this growth thing. I mean, we can get to cars, but their growth is what? It's still 10% or so?
No, it's 2%. No, it's 2% top line revenue.
Single digits at this point.
Was that now, or are they projecting more for the future? I'm just asking.
No,
They're not
it's going to be
projecting-
3% over the next year.
Okay, well,
Because there's
that's bad.
2% last year.
I mean,
I-
but you have to understand that.
I was trying to give the positives, like, oh, it's only a 27 forward PE. It's not that
Well,
bad.
if the Vision
but
Pro sells 400 grand or whatever, then yeah.
that
400 million.
that whole
I mean,
division, well, it'd be
400
like
grand.
it'd be like 1.5 billion if they sold 400,000 units, which is what they're predicting first year. But what's happening with Apple is, I mean, we're complaining about slow growth now, but this is after years, or almost a decade of just straight growth, of monster growth, of taking market share, of increasing margins. Like there's a certain point when it just levels off, where the market's saturated. The problem too is, like, I think me and Chris was saying this last episode, is that the phones are just so damn good now.
Yep.
That you don't really need to repair them as much, because there's only so much more you can ask it to do with respect to like the capabilities of the internet and Wi-Fi. Like it can literally do everything now. It's a mobile compute platform. Everyone that wanted an app for it has an app for it several generations in. There's like literally nothing left for it to connect to, for it to do. It's a very,
that's kind of scary, bro, that we got to a point of capitalism where like we don't know what else to grow, and it's kind of like, where's the world going from here?
But that to me is an indication of why they're pushing the Vision Pro so hard, because now they understand that they need this S curve on top of this, because otherwise this is going to just remain flatlined. I mean, they'll get some new customers just because every year, people have kids that get older and you want to get them in the ecosystem. People's phones do break at a certain point, but it's not going to be enough to say that they're a growth company, and then they'll be valued as a value company, which for the most part, that's what they are right now. I mean, at $3 trillion, you're not buying them looking for returns. You know what I mean?
Well, now it's 2.7. So.
Oh, okay. So at even at 2.7 trillion, you're not buying them looking for a 2x.
So here's the thing that like puzzled me about it. Like if you look at their revenue growth, right? Like you can see their revenue growth has pretty much topped out. They haven't really been growing on a TTM basis. Even their operating income hasn't really been growing that much. But this is where those share buybacks and those massive share buybacks, they do impact the stock price. So if someone is in it, remember, as the share count goes down, you make more money per share, right? So if you look at a company like AutoZone, you would think like, oh, it's not really the most appealing business, right? And the revenue is pretty flat if you look at it all over all these years. It's only growing at 2%, whatever. But if you look at the stock price, let me just show you guys AZO. The stock price has done this over the last 5 years, gone up 237%. If you go back all the way to 2010, it's gone literally parabolic. And the reason why is because if you look at AutoZone's like share buybacks, right? Like share count, it is massive, massive share buybacks. Every single time they have any additional operating cash flow, all they do is just buy back more shares. And that is, I think, the key to Apple right now. The story behind Apple is that their free cash flow is so monstrous that they're able to just keep buying back so many shares. And even if they don't grow and they just stay flat, that those share buybacks will elevate the EPS. The EPS so much that like right now they generate almost $7 of EPS per share right now, and that's growing even with services. The more money that they're growing, and it just keeps growing, and it's the compounding effect of those share buybacks is just massive.
So once again, as an investor, at the end of the day, if they can grow double digits buying back shares, then it's a good investment. It's a good investment to compound your money, especially if you want to keep it safe. I don't see it as a bad bet, because not everything is supposed to be this 3x, 10x multiple. Some things you just want to grow at 10%, 20%, and you want to make sure it's safe and it's around in 10 years.
Yeah, well, as an investor, yeah, and as an investor, you don't care how the gains come, you just care that they come. And if Apple's printing that much money, and they literally have spent everything that they can on R&D, and everything else is every other part of the business is, why not share some of that profit? It's like a commission.
But see, that's I think me and you bought Google not because we expect. I mean, look, I think Google's a double because it's an easy double because it was so undervalued. But I don't plan to sell it when it doubles. I don't know about you, Chris, but I plan to hold Google, and hopefully I can pass down Google if I'm that wise to the kids and everything, because it's something I don't think is going away anytime soon. So let that grow. Let that be part of the steady part of my portfolio. Because when I look at the things that were smashed, Google is like recovering well. And then there's other things that aren't. because they're more growth oriented. But Google is a well-known established brand, just like Apple. So it's a safer bet. Even when it goes down, we know it's going to recover, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Google right now is not only growing its revenues, but it's also growing its buybacks. So you're getting almost like the benefit of Apple, which is you get all those share buybacks, but then at the same time, you get the growth in income as well that's happening over time. So I think eventually Google will lap Apple in terms of like valuation. I just can't tell you exactly when that's going to happen, whether that be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I did a chart a while ago. It's on my computer at home. But literally, if you look at the narrowing between operating income of Apple and Google, it literally went from Google being down here and Apple being up here. And then what happens is Apple is growing their operating income, but Google is growing it faster. And so the difference used to be almost like a 70% difference in operating income. And now it's only maybe like 25, 30% difference. So that's the key to Google, which is they're still growing their operating income like crazy. So that's the one you kind of want to be in. And I think a lot of funds may be recognizing that. Like if you look at Ackman's just buying up Google like right and left, and I think
Is
these
he
bigger
still doing
guys,
that, or that was last quarter? That was when it was more.
that was
down.
last quarter, and I think he's probably still going to keep doing it, man. So
So before we transition to Google, because I have a topic I want to talk about on that, to put a wrap on Apple, is there anything in this event that made you more excited or not, or it's kind of like they just had to do the event to do the event, and we'll see what happens with the Vision Pro?
There's just incremental yearly updates.
Okay,
That's
cool.
what it is. Yeah.
I may end up upgrading, but that's primarily because I'm at like a 10 right now. So I'm like 5 years behind. I figure 5 years is enough, and my battery's at like 70 something percent capacity now. So because I don't have a removable battery, if I had a removable battery, I'd just switch that fucker out, and there you go. I'd keep this for another 5 years.
Right.
I'm not gonna buy something I don't need like a lot of extra shit on. Like I know a lot of the stuff that they have on there is like, oh, you can do this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, bro, I probably not gonna use those features. So
I haven't upgraded in forever, and my Face ID no longer works. Like my daughter dropped my phone so much.
I hate when that happens.
She dropped it so much that it won't work. So I'm putting my passcode in for everything. It's actually more inconvenient.
Yeah.
What do you have, a 12 or 11?
I think I got the 14. I bought this one. I upgraded to this one when she was born because I was taking pictures and they weren't great quality. And I'm like, I really just wanted to upgrade it to have the best possible quality and shoot 4K in this like really a short period of her life that's so important. I wanted to have the best quality images because I'm like, in 20 years, they're still going to look old and dated. I should at least get the best quality. And then I don't know, about a year ago, she smashed it, and now it's on its last legs. But same as KRIS, like it just works. That's the thing. This phone just works. I've never experienced any slowdown. I get very few app crashes. Like the capacity is great. The storage, I have no qualms with the phone. But I might upgrade just because I think I'm due for one now. If I wanted to, now would be the time to do it. And they have a plan where you buy one, get
$800. Yeah.
As long as you make all your payments. That's what I did with my wife. We just got two phones, and they were like $1,500 a piece. But if you pay all your payments, then one of them becomes free, and they get like $700 a phone. And keep in mind, they're still making money on that. So the people that are paying full price, $1,500 for an iPhone, like these phones cost them nothing. I can't imagine that this phone costs them more than $100 to make, like labor.
I think it's more than that, but still, to your Face ID thing, I'm glad you brought that up because that shows how Apple is so against repairing things. Because my thing also broke, that's why I upgraded. Before I upgraded, I sent it into the repair shop, and there's iPhone repair shops, right?
They won't repair Face ID.
Well, no. So they said if you are lucky and the cable slipped out when you dropped it, we'll fix it. If not, there's now IDs. The Apple hardware puts a certain ID that it can't just replace that part. Yeah. Only Apple can do it, and they don't want to do that. So the repair shop literally took my money and then sent it back and refunded me, said, we can't work on these phones because your Face ID, it's not the cable. You actually have a damaged whatever chip or whatever's in there. So here you go.
I had the same issue. I went to the guy. I said, can you repair this? He goes, if it's Face ID, we can't repair it. You have to go through Apple. So I went to the Apple store and I said, how much would it cost to repair? And he goes, it's $300 for the for the new.
I mean, it's you see how this a scam works here.
But the thing is, if specifically with Face ID, I understand why. If you open that up to allow people to third parties to repair that, that's a serious risk of security breach. That is like the first line of defense of all your passwords, of your crypto, of your
They
bank.
can use that for anything, though. I'm saying that could be used for anything.
That's one thing that I do understand. I wouldn't want some third party being able to service that particular unit, because then it becomes easy to create a system to defeat that bypass. And that's something where I go, okay, but I also didn't want to pay $300. I said, I'll just put the passcode in. Now I'm like, how much? I'll take the money because it's so annoying, you know.
Here's $1,800.
Everything. Yeah, I'm like, I'll pay double now, but I might upgrade. I don't know.
I think at this point, I think that comment right there that David just made is exactly why Apple is by far one of the things that most people should have in their portfolio as a anchor, right? As much as I hated the event, I can't ever see myself moving away from Apple products. My whole system is Apple. I'm in the same boat. All my stuff is Apple related, and everything works so well with each other that now I don't even like. I feel like if I try to get out of the ecosystem, I would feel lost. And then there's an entire generation of people that Apple is convinced that, oh, if you get an Android, you're broke. You're a brokey. And so if you have an iPhone, you're special. And so everyone right now has a fucking iPhone. Like all four of us have an iPhone, right?
I don't want to see those green bubbles.
You guys watch Fresh and Fit, the Fresh and Fit, and like whatever.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing, and like periodically comes up where a girl's like, yo, if a guy pulls out an Android on a date, he's not getting laid. They're like, no. They see that, or if they see the green bubble, they're like, no.
Bro, people will pay $15 a month for Tinder Pro. They'll pay fucking $1,000 for an iPhone just to make sure.
But it goes to Chris's point that people just see it as like, if you buy that phone, it's because you're trying to get more value out of your dollar, and you're not trying to have the best product, right?
Yeah, it's this marketing perception that Apple just really hit out of the park when it comes to people, where they somehow convinced you that Android is an inferior product compared to Apple. And I'm granted, I would say about 75% of all Android phones are complete trash. Okay. But there is the cream of the crop Android phones out there that have way better specs than Apple's does. So, and also like if you go like outside of the US, I think in the US, everyone has an iPhone now. So it's not nearly the status symbol that it used to be. But if you go to India and you have an iPhone, and we had this discussion.
It's just like a Tesla. Tesla used to be a status symbol out here. It used to be like, oh, you're driving even a Model 3. People see a Model 3 at a light. The BMWs were like checking it out. Now it's it's the Camry. It's a Camry.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like in India, back in the day, I'm not even back in the day, like a few years ago, if you had an iPhone, I was like, oh, this guy's he's doing really well in life. And like, that's the whole thing that Apple had. It felt like a premium luxury item. In the US, it's no longer like that because I think everyone has an iPhone.
Well, you can buy the cheap ones or used ones. So anyone can get one. But the thing is, like, what Apple did
real quick before we go, we have hit 300, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. What they did was that was brilliant was with family, because like using FaceTime with my parents, which are old, like that's easy. So they made it easy to use that kind of stuff. So my kid, I didn't get him a phone, which I'm glad I didn't, but the Apple Watch has a phone on it. So he won't be obsessed playing games and browsing the internet. It makes it easy to do that kind of stuff, where with Android, I have to like process how to do all that stuff,
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point.
In my family, the only person that has an Android phone is my dad. He absolutely refuses to get an iPhone.
We have one of these too.
I don't know what his hang up.
We don't text
told him, I was like, Dad, you'll have FaceTime and everything else. And he's like, no, I have WhatsApp. WhatsApp is fine. And I'm like, come on, man. Like you're the only one in the family that doesn't have. And I've
tried to get this is gonna sound fucked up, but I've tried to get my mom an iPhone several times, and I think she doesn't want it because then she has no excuse to like not communicate with me. Like sometimes I try to get her on FaceTime and she's like, oh, WhatsApp, it's so difficult for me. I think if I made it too easy, then she'd feel like she has to communicate with me in a weird way. Because when I got rid of my old phone, I was like, I'll just give you my old one. I'll wipe it. I'll send it to you with a blank SIM card and just get it connected. Put your SIM card in it. And she like refuses. She likes her little whatever phone. She had a flip phone up for a while. She like.
Well, once you get used to something, then then they have to learn something else, no matter what, even if it's an iPhone.
She's like, I don't know how to use it, and I'm like, it's your finger, But then she's always complaining about her photo album. My photo album, I can't find. I'm like, that wouldn't happen if we had iCloud. Like, I could just send you stuff,